Welcome to Disruption and Kindness. My name is Travis, and I'm here with Caleb Monroe.
Hello.
And we're here to talk about brands, businesses, and how they impact culture. What's up, dude?
Dude, life's a little crazy right now. There's some interesting stuff happening.
It's a little crazy. Yeah, life is super crazy. So last week, not last week. We've had lots of technical difficulties with the show in the past couple of weeks. So the previous episode, I ran into lots and lots of computer issues. My MacBook happened to completely fill up mid-episode and not even get like the full recording of my end. And so I looked like I was just like a jittery, glitchy mess. And then the next week, I had technical difficulties with my body. I'll get into that as well. And so yeah, it's been a few crazy weeks, I think, for on the content front.
Yeah, I think that technical difficulties are going to happen anytime that you're doing something technical. Like, we have a podcast. We're running a 2-location setup with microphones, with video, with software. There's a lot of working pieces. And now, granted, I can handle the technical aspect side of stuff. We can troubleshoot. We can figure that out. Part of being a kid with 8 siblings growing up when technology just exploded in terms of video game consoles and RF modulators and DVD players, and there was like VHS tape. There's so much stuff to just connect that my dad kind of just threw it all at me as a kid. So I got the technical aspect side of it down like pretty good. But yeah, dude, the your body difficulties, can't fix that.
Yeah, so I went out of town. And I've been having these shoulder trap pain for, about a month. Like, sometimes I sleep weird and it causes like a crick in my neck. And so my assumption was that I just slept on it strange. It was gonna be gone in, a couple of days. And it ended up lasting over a month. And I had it adjusted by a physical therapist, and was coming back from Dallas, and my pain was just outrageous. And by the time I got back to Lubbock, all the feeling in my right arm was gone. So my arm was just completely numb, tons of like burning nerve pain in my wrist. I'm still I'm still trying to get usage of my right hand. So it's been interesting. Like, it's been like months of adversity the last 60 to 90 days, just trying to figure that out. And then so this week it's just been figuring out what am I capable of doing. Like, I was just super shocked to find out on Saturday just how poorly I was texting and typing and stuff. So, which is my entire job. Everything I do is type based. So it's very interesting feeling to kind of go through.
Yeah, I know we've talked a lot about it this week, but I can't imagine just going through trying to functionally operate differently, like you said, from just a work mentality, but also just a loss of capability. I think that's just hard in general for anyone. Anybody that's going through something where they know that this should be working, how frustrating that can be. So, yeah, we're 100% with you as you figure this out. I'm glad that, it seems like there's incremental growth in the right direction. Seems like you got some feeling back in your thumb and some other stuff recently.
Yeah.
So stuff's trending.
We're having some issues this morning with my laptop, and I was frantically clicking everywhere, and now my hand is just completely shot. It's one of those deals, but a lot of the numbness in my arm has gone down. It's mainly in my thumb. For the most part, and it just kind of fatigues as well. So, just navigating all that, but it's getting better. I'm taking some strides with, diet and different stuff to knock inflammation down, and just try and try and figure it out. But it's been a big growing process for me because like I'm always trying to like tell people to like they need to work through their adversity, right? And so I'm in a season of my life where I am working through loads of it, and I think it's just going to enable me to be better for what's like coming up ahead for Monsoon because we're growing like crazy. Like you're saying right before we got to recording, like the our podcast metrics are way up. I mean, naturally because we're doing it, but I think just for rebooting disruption and kindness, I think that we're kind of surprised at the listenership and kind of some of the feedback we're getting. What was that story you were telling right before we were recording on the comment section?
So I religiously look over our YouTube comments, Spotify, not able, Apple Podcasts really not able to comment. You guys can leave reviews for sure, but really YouTube is a great place if you guys are wanting to hit us with questions, either on Facebook or on YouTube. And I'm religiously looking over those, and so I get notifications whenever any comment happens, and I will 100% respond to whatever comment comes through. And so this comment came through, someone I didn't know, and all it said was promo SM, one word. And I'm trying to process through. I've never seen this before. Our last episode was about the tools that we use inside of Monsoon for automation. And so I was a little concerned that he thought it was a promotional podcast, that he thought we were just making money off of it or, excuse me, trying to leverage value for trying to leverage our podcast to sell stuff. And that's not what we're trying to
Right.
do at all.
No.
We are literally sharing the tools that we use, and we don't make anything from these tools that we use. Wave, you know. So I was just trying to process through and really figure out like what does this mean. And so I just typed up a huge response back to him, and I was like, "Hey, I would hate if this felt like an advertisement. Can you let me know if it did?" Definitely wasn't how we were trying to bring across. We were just trying to give away our secrets, essentially, give away the value that we
Right.
found inside of our company. And so then I like looked it up a little bit more fully, did a little bit more of a deep dive into it, and it seems like something that pretty commonly bots will respond under,
Yeah.
or people will respond under to get certain attention. I guess there's a actual software that you can use called Promo SM that if you type it underneath it, it will feed traffic towards it. Now, we haven't been hit by this thing, but it was something that I was looking at going like, oh, what is this? I need to respond to this. And then realizing pretty quickly, like maybe somebody was just trying to get us more attention, or I don't know. We're just not affiliated with Promo SM, so I'm not sure why some random person chatted it underneath their thing. But it's just a good little moment to realize, like, if you guys have questions, or if you guys would love to have us talk about something, share more stories of what agency life looks like, or more topical things like the news, we're still dialing in really what the focus of this podcast and what we're most interested to talk about. And I think that Travis and I have a lot of knowledge to yield in a bunch of different areas, and it'd be helpful to know, what do you guys want to hear, like what do you guys want us to chat about, and hit us up in the comments on Facebook or YouTube, and we'll respond right back to y'all.
Yeah. So, Caleb, what are some of the things that you're learning right now in business?
I had a very quick conversation with Adam Hanley. He's our videographer. If anybody that's following us on Facebook, you should be seeing some crazy good video stuff that we're doing recently, and it's all this man Adam Hanley, that he's just
Outrageous.
out. He's a wizard. Really, really opening up a lot of cool capabilities for drone and video and commercial videography, on-site stuff. We just finished up a shoot with Claraboya for their summer menu. I'm excited for people to see that stuff. It's really, really cool stuff. But he was commenting on Facebook just about the difference between how he feels like he's all word of mouth referrals and he's not leveraging awareness outside of just word of mouth. And it's really just stuck with me for several days this week, and trying to think through, like, is that a problem? Is that a positive? Is that a negative? And I commented back to him, and almost every single person in that thread commented back to him and said, "No, that's actually incredible. It's because you're a master. You're so good at your craft that you can rely on word of mouth," which I 100% agree with. That was the first thing I commented to him, is that it's impossible to run a business through word of mouth or referrals if your product is awful. So only the best of the best masters can run referral based businesses, because if your product is bad and it's not life changing, where it's converting people to become like little mini evangelists for your brand, you're not going to get referrals. You're not going to get word of
Right.
mouth. So it is a massive indicator of quality if you're getting word of mouth referrals. Um, but at the same time, I think that should word of mouth referrals be the only source that you're growing your business, it kind of depends on how you're wanting to grow. If you're wanting to grow from a stable, slow roll, organic grassroots method, then I think word of mouth is fantastic and you can kind of hang inside of that zone. But if you really, I think you are leaving top of mind awareness on the table if you're not talking about yourself. So I think that's Adam
Sure.
came back very quickly in his post and was trying to correct everyone. He's like, no, this was a negative. Like you guys are trying to get into a positive. This is a negative. I need to be talking more and informing people more about what I'm doing and the quality that I have. So, and I agree with that point. So what I've been learning is really this balance between word of mouth, thinking through this week, like word of mouth versus actual marketing. And how do you do that authentically? I think word of mouth is the most authentic expression of marketing. Someone's like, I need a website. And they're like, I know a guy. Like that's super organic. That's not salesy. Usually the person's not involved in word of mouth at all. And that's what makes it safe, and risk mitigation is very, very high. Now, when you begin to take a position of actively selling to an audience or actively selling to somebody, I think that's when people can put their guard up. They really want to know. You need so much more social proof because it's not coming from a trusted source. So I don't know. I've just been thinking through the difference between word of mouth uh and marketing and how to leverage both in an authentic way. It's a lot of what I've been thinking through this week.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, that thread was awesome. It was cool to see people kind of rally around Adam and kind of let him know how great he is. And, we, love and appreciate that guy as well, so it's been good. It's been good. But yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff to talk about today. I wanted this one to be more of a lighthearted podcast because one, it's on the forefront uh, of pop culture and news right now with some big releases and whatnot. But the Mark Zuckerberg Elon Musk rivalry just like brewing so much ridiculousness is just like hysterical to me.
Yeah, 100%.
So for those of you living under a rock, Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk, I guess, are going to try and have an MMA fight.
Yeah.
And Logan Paul wants to fight on the undercard.
I think Logan Paul would insert himself into anything that he would get credit for.
Oh my gosh.
So,
I mean, Logan Paul is saying he wants to fight an actual MMA fighter. So like I can give him definite props for that. But of course, like, he's a master marketer.
he is.
Like you can't deny what that dude's done with his brand, and even with like Prime, like he's disrupting Gatorade right now.
Right.
So
Yeah. Him and KSI, it was super funny because they got a ton of free publicity because all their fans
yeah,
and stuff, they were chucking bottles at their heads. And then they came out after the fact and they're like, hey, we actually told our fans to do that because we knew how to leverage controversy.
right, sure,
And so the amount of free publicity the news gave them to just like, the news is so quick to stick it to somebody. Like the news is so quick to shame people. And I think that they know how to
right,
leverage that. If they're like, oh, these people tried to launch a product and instead they got bottles thrown at their heads. Like that's like the news is going to pick up on that and shame people quickly. But for them,
right,
how many more people heard about Prime because of, traditional news media posting about it, commenting
yep,
about it, than they would beforehand. So I agree with you 100%. I think he's knows what he's doing if he's
yeah,
engineering those moments. But for Elon and for Zuckerberg, I think their rivalry's been brewing a lot longer than I was even aware. When you mentioned in the podcast notes that you wanted to talk about this, I just went and did a little bit of research, and it seems like there's been a lot of back and forth between these two over the years, more than I was even aware.
yep,
Like
yeah,
SpaceX launched something that hit a Facebook satellite at one point, and I think that
yep,
kind of was what like kickstarted the two of them. And then Elon's been kind of digging into Zuckerberg. I don't know that Zuckerberg has been as vocal against Elon as Elon's just been kind of trashing
right,
Facebook. And so it's like Elon came out and said that Zuckerberg didn't understand AI, like had zero understanding about it. And he was
right,
concerned about how it happened. He deleted his SpaceX and Tesla Facebook pages because he said it was quote unquote lame. So I feel like there's just a lot of stuff that Elon's been like dropping in to allow it to brew.
Yeah.
And I think that for whatever reason under the sun, Elon decided to joke about having a cage match with Zuckerberg. Uh, and
Yep.
Zuckerberg screenshotted it and said, "Send me the location." And this kickstarted an entire, like, we may have two nerd CEOs throwing down.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I love every second of this, to be honest. Every time I get a new article on it, I go to it and read it and laugh. It's my favorite thing right now. I think that there's just it's because it's such like a lighthearted, funny thing to think of these like two dorky billionaires going at it in a cage. But I think there's just layers and layers and layers of depth to this story.
Yep.
Like again, going from the banter and the business rivalry, but also I think there's like some like cultural cockfighting going on here because like you've got like one side of the political spectrum actually who's actually really been backing Musk lately, right? It's like the right really likes Elon Musk, I feel like, and the left really pulls for Zuckerberg because they've got their policies probably align a lot more there. So you've got like we got these weird political cockfighting with billionaires going on with the fight itself, but also their companies.
Right.
It's been completely crazy. Zuckerberg has been posting videos over the last like year of him training like jujitsu. But then Elon this past week posted a video of him training with George St. Pierre, who is the greatest MMA fighter of all time. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I think honestly, if I'm betting, I think Zuck's gonna
destroy
mop
him.
the floor with him.
Yeah, and I think it's just because like Zuckerberg picked up jujitsu during COVID, I guess. From what I was reading, he picked this up just very recently with COVID starting, but still very recently. What a year can do inside of an actual martial art. You would be able to speak to this better than I can, but it's pretty important difference. The fact that Zuckerberg has gone and medaled in several jiu-jitsu competitions means that he's knows his stuff, right?
I mean, he's placing gold in like no-gi master tournaments for white belt. So like he's so just for context, it goes white, blue, purple, brown, black, and it takes like well over a decade to earn black. So if you're a white belt for years, that's normal, right? It's not just like, I signed up and I've been doing this. I want my next color, so I can keep going. Like you will be a white belt for a long time, but he's winning like medals and all kinds of stuff. I don't know if he's like, I'm not sure if he's graduated to blue or not yet, but he's been doing this for a bit. And I think he's going to choke Elon out. That is
to be honest, I'm going to be completely real. That's the only reason that I'm giving Zuckerberg the edge in this context. I think if both of them started from an equal perspective and hadn't been training for years, I just think that Elon's got that build. He's got that 1950s refrigerator build, my man. Like there was a meme. There's a meme online about like what the human body would need to look like to survive an actual automobile crash. And for the people on YouTube, I'll throw it up. Like he's got that build. And I think that his weight is higher, his reach is better. Like I think that he's got a lot that he could put in his favor, but I don't feel like he has. I know he's training now. And I think that's the thing about being billionaires is that you get access to the best, right? Like he clearly grabbed the best MMA trainer and fighter to give him. And it's like, but I don't know that a couple of weeks is going to compare to several years of training inside of it. But, maybe he's just going to ape out. Maybe it's going to get that gorilla Musk strength and he'll just be able to win the day. I take a step back and I know that you're loving every second of this, and the publicity for these companies is incredible. And to be honest, I think Zuckerberg will take any chance at humanizing himself that he can. I think that's people's issue with Zuckerberg is they literally like call him a lizard person, and hello fellow humans is like the number one thing commented under any live stream that he does, because he carries himself in a way that does not feel human, natural, normal.
Right.
And people pick up on really
Well,
weird stuff when he's launching the metaverse and he's like got a thing of barbecue sauce on the like thing behind it. It's just like there's small little oddities about him and who he is that I
yeah,
think
he's a
people,
weird dude.
he is a weird dude, and I think he'll take any chance to normalize and humanize himself.
Well, another thing people don't realize is like Facebook has been struggling super bad in the last few
Yeah,
years
they sure
because
have.
of like, iOS 14.5 messing up their ability to like track as much data as they used to. And so and also like Zuckerberg's own personal brand, I feel like has been in turmoil for years now. Like I think that he hasn't really been like very publicly popular for a long time.
Not at all.
And so what I think is really interesting about all of this is as you have like, again, like there's all this politicization around Elon Musk. He's actually able to kind of piggyback on that. And he's the guy like standing up to Elon now. He's the guy that's like, you know what I mean? I'm going to get in the cage with Elon Musk. I'm going to, we'll talk about this, like the threads thing in a bit, but
Yeah.
like, I think his personal brand is actually elevating quite a bit inside of this. And he's literally just piggybacking off of all the controversy Musk has been stirring up over the years.
Yeah, well, this
So
isn't the first time. Like, granted, I think this is the first time two CEOs of billion-dollar companies are going to step into an actual cage match potentially. There's a piece of me that still doesn't believe it's going to come to anything, that this is just kind of fun
sure.
publicity. I think that clearly they're training, so that's a positive indicator that they want something to go down. I think the Italian government just said that they'd be more than happy to let them use the Colosseum, which is insane. I don't know the last time the Colosseum held an actual physical fighting tournament, but from a historical perspective, for this
Right.
fight to potentially go down in the Colosseum is, it's just, again, this is such a bizarre story that's happening between two tech billionaires, and it reminds me of when Bezos built the rocket, and you just have these other billionaires that are trying to go to space first, and you have this almost weird space race happening between Bezos. And it's just like we're watching billionaires just not know what to do with themselves a little bit. I think that
Right.
is it not enough, Elon, to have SpaceX and Tesla and Twitter and the Boring
Right.
Company, and you have so many things that you're doing that you're like, you know what? Let's just sprinkle a little cage match with another CEO into this, because I think the potential for memes is really high. I think the potential for
Right.
damage to their brands is probably really high. I think that this we haven't seen what two CEOs fist fighting. I don't have any context for an actual full blown fight. What I do have, and what I brought up to you as well, is that back in the 90s there was a arm wrestling match between two CEOs, and it was actually between Southwest Airlines and this company. Southwest used this slogan called "Just Plain Smart," and they launched it in the 90s. And it turns out that Stevens Aviations was a small aviation company from South Carolina, and they'd been using the "Just Plain Smart" motto for a long time before that. They had it, like, it's been in their ads, plain smart. And so what's interesting is that the CEO of this much smaller aviations company, he really looked up to Southwest. And for our younger audience, Southwest is just an airline company, but way back when it started in the 70s, they were the most disruptive airline brand because interstate commerce laws caused plane ticket prices to be like really high and consistently high, to where competitors couldn't charge differently because of laws that were happening back then. So these two founders of Southwest Airlines got together and they said, what if we don't cross state lines? What if we just offered airline travel between city to city inside of states? So where if we don't cross state lines, we're able to charge much lower rates than our competition can. And they completely skirted federal law at that point. And like it took them 3 years to get their business off the ground because the amount of like pushback they were getting from competitors in the space who did not want them to be operating. And by the time that they actually launched this thing, it was massively successful. I mean, they even the hostesses that they had when they first launched, they were in like full go-go boots, and it was like they only hired attractive stewardesses and stuff, but they grew to this massive company. And so the Stevens Aviation CEO saw their trajectory, and he really admired the CEO. And so he heard from his legal team that he needs to sue the Southwest company because they could be making millions from suing on this trademarked slogan of just plain smart. And the CEO decided to handle it a different way. And he sent out an email basically saying, hey, I think that what I would love to do, no lawyers, like let's hash this out in an arm wrestling competition, best of 3. And he sent just a straight email to the CEO through his vice president back then. And then the CEO of Southwest Airlines, who was, again, eccentric, disruptor, very visionary guy, loved it. And he loved the idea so much that they put this thing together. It was called, the event was called the Malice in Dallas. And it happened back in 1992. And the amount of promotion was insane for this thing. They had a full-blown, like, they did it inside of this sportatorium in Dallas. It was super famous at the time. And like they came in Rocky outfits and Rocky music was playing, and like the entire thing went down. But it was a best of 3 arm wrestling competition to see who got to keep the slogan. And the amount of publicity that happened from it was explosive for both sides of it. But long story short, the underdog, Stevens Aviation, won. And for each round, whoever lost, they donated $5,000 to the charity of their choice. But that's the like positive, super positive. George W. Bush even like sent a letter George Bush sent a letter to the Southwest Airlines guy because of the amount of publicity that happened in Dallas from it, and just was saying how smart of an idea it was to not just have this be another situation where companies are getting caught up in the courts, spending millions of dollars to try and resolve something that gets caught out for years. And instead they used it to spun it positively, where they did an arm wrestling competition between 2 CEOs and just built a ton of positive publicity for both brands, where Stevens Aviation was unknown before this point, and they launched into the market, and they actually like quadrupled their growth in several years from this event because people became aware of them. So that's the closest thing my brain has to like 2 CEOs duking it out inside of a square. And I think this has so much, this isn't just a positive, haha, funny, whatever thing. Like if they actually throw down and they actually fully like punch each other and go to town on each other, I think that the possibility that this causes major damage to someone's company is non-zero.
Like, I just can't believe it's like we don't want warriors, we want nerds.
When like what stage of societal collapse are we in when our nerds are our entertainment in terms of warrior fight?
Oh my gosh,
it's kind of like BattleBots but with humans.
It's kind of like BattleBots but with humans, except these guys might actually be robots. But that's that is not the only. What's up?
I said could be.
Yeah. I mean, that's not the only way that this is heating up though as well. Mark Zuckerberg, in the last few days has released an app called Threads, which I think is going to be pretty disrupting if Zuckerberg is legally allowed to keep the Threads app open, right? So Threads is a Twitter direct competitor straight out of Meta platforms that is connected to Instagram. So basically utilizing the massive social media platform that Zuckerberg already had, he literally just copied, Musk's entire platform with Twitter and just installed it into his own app. It is crazy. So it uses the same account as your Instagram account. And from what I can see so far, like I haven't jumped into it way too extensively just yet. It looks like almost the exact same as Twitter. And there are accusations that Zuckerberg hired a bunch of people from Twitter to help develop the project.
Right.
So Musk is threatening legal action to try and get it shut down, which I think is interesting.
It is interesting, and it definitely adds to the spice. And this is like, Is it a competitor of Twitter? Like, it's almost a clone of Twitter.
Yeah,
like it's that close. It's not. He
right.
didn't try and reinvent the wheel here. It's a text-based integration through Instagram and connecting your Instagram account to where. And I was commenting this to you as well. If you do create a Threads account, just to go check it out, I think they already saw 10 million people sign up in the first like 24
There's
hours or
30
something.
million. There's 30 million users right now.
See, okay, so I was just keeping up from the first 24 hours. There's 30 million users right now, which again, if you're taking this pool of people that use Instagram and the pool of people that use Facebook, and you're just saying, hey, this is another alternative inside of our ecosystem, you're going to see that kind of like transfer over happen. But just be aware, if you delete your Threads account and it's connected to your Instagram account, they will both be deleted. So I don't think that's talked about enough. Just a little PSA out there for y'all. But it's a complete clone of what's happening over on Twitter. And what's interesting is that you're seeing the policy differences happen across the board too, in terms of Facebook is much more tight on what gets posted and removing things that break policy guidelines than I would think that Twitter is. Right now, where you're actually seeing some conservative people join. And if you try and follow conservative people, certain conservative people on Threads, it will pop up a full notification saying, hey, this person is known to share disinformation. Like, do you want to follow them? And so like already just right off the bat, you can see the clear policy differences. I can follow anybody on Twitter, and I'm not introduced a screen of like a hesitation screen on, hey, do you want to do this or not? So I think that it's interesting seeing, like you said, conservatives kind of more aligning with Musk and how disruptive he is and taking over. And, you know, whatever, I don't know that Elon Musk deserves to be built up into some sort of like hero.
Right.
I think it's impressive what he's done, but I think people take it way too far on the right with him. And because even just recently, Twitter's been plagued with so many issues, and I think this is a really ripe opportunity. And you can tell by the the litigation that Elon just threw Zuckerberg's way about this, that he's concerned. I think if this was a non-issue, I think that he wouldn't be worried about suing them. So I think that they're feeling tenuous. And to be honest, like Twitter recently had something with rate limits. If you're an active Twitter user, you definitely experienced this a couple of days ago, where you started to get this message as you were scrolling through that you were reaching your limit of viewing content. And people were really concerned because he has monetized Twitter. There is now a Twitter Blue subscription that you can pay for that gives you more reach, that gives you longer word counts instead of the 280 that you can post. You can post up to 25,000 characters now. If you have Twitter Blue, you can upload longer stuff. Anyways, there's just monetization that's happening. And so with the rate limit that was going on, he said that it was to prevent bots from scraping. And there are a lot of other engineers on the side that were saying, hey, he may have turned that off because bots were using up server space, but this also that day coincided with his entire platform was using Google Cloud, and Twitter had stepped into a huge agreement before Elon bought it that was renewing right as the same date that he's having these rate limit issues, and he refused to pay that bill. And so I think what's more realistic, even from our space, is that he was trying to move the entirety of Twitter over to a different service and over to a different server, and you're having like growth pain issues that were happening between that because there's no more rate limit issues right now. And he hasn't backtracked that policy completely. So I think he definitely, Elon tends to use flavor text sometimes to spin stuff in a positive way because he knows most people aren't going to understand the intricacies of bot scraping or, you know, how that stuff works. Then I think he'll leverage people's ignorance to have a positive spin to every single outcome. But I also think that there are moments where I think Elon's been caught with not communicating authentically or accurately or truthfully about stuff because he can spin a little bit. But I think with the issues Twitter's having, I think having a competitor pop up right now is perfect opportunity for Zuckerberg to try and actually take out a $44 billion investment for someone that's irritated him for several years.
I don't think he'll take it out. I just think that there's a massive, you know, Twitter has a huge user base, and you've got half the country, you know, relatively frustrated with Elon, right? So there's a really huge opportunity for Zuckerberg to try and build a new platform. And there's a lot of skepticism, right? There's a lot of skepticism, and I think there's a lot of overhype, right? So there are people saying, oh, well, this is just going to be like Clubhouse, where, it was trendy for a little bit, and like, nothing's going to come out of it. Like I was one of the early invitees for Clubhouse, and unfortunately I did not have the skill set to leverage that opportunity like I wish I had. But I watched guys build massive Clubhouse followings that just literally leverage it to grow all their other stuff. So like, just because Threads is new and it's untested and we don't know what it's going to do yet, doesn't mean we shouldn't take it seriously and seize the opportunity. So like, I'm planning on, I'm researching like strategies on how to, leverage the Threads algorithm right now for us, because I think that if anything, I can grow our Instagram account. Right. So if anything, I can grow our Facebook account. Right. So I'm going to be heavily going in on Threads, but I also not like, oh, this is going to be the platform going forward, like Twitter's dead, all this stuff.
Right.
Like, I think that whether Threads is here to stay or not, there are pockets of opportunities that as marketers we need to take to grow our brands. And if we're not cross promoting between our channels, you're not being effective anyways. Like if you're not cross promoting your YouTube and your Spotify and your Facebook accounts and your Twitter accounts, if you're not trying to cross promote different platforms, you're not really leveraging those things well anyways.
Right.
So like, I don't know. It's interesting because I've got friends just on all across the marketing space. Some are saying Threads is amazing. Can't wait to grow my audience on there. It's going to be huge for us. And you have some people saying, it's not going to do anything. It's making lighthearted jokes about it. And I'm like, an opportunity is an opportunity. You should definitely go for it.
Yeah, and I think it probably, if you sat down and asked every single person why they felt the way they felt, it's probably whether they feel warm, hot or cold about Zuckerberg or hot or cold about Elon, right? I think that the reality is Facebook's been plagued with so much more controversy. I think that Musk has been plagued with destabilizing his own network that he bought, making policies, backtracking policies. There's definitely a feeling of instability around Twitter right now, but also exciting growth where, I think it's a double-edged sword. But on the other hand, you have Musk, who, like you said, his personal brand has been not the best the past couple of years. I think that he had pretty major scandals in terms of Cambridge Analytics and other ones back in 2017 that really blew a lot of trust. Hello, cat. That really blew a lot of trust in Zuckerberg and in Facebook. So I think that there is a massive issue with Facebook having Zuckerberg, where I don't think there's anybody that trusts Zuckerberg. I think that even if they like Zuckerberg, I think if you ask them just straight up, hey, do you trust Zuckerberg? I don't think there's anybody that's like, yes, this dude has my best interest in mind. Not, hey, this dude has an entire policy for scraping every single piece of data and leveraging it for profit, right? Like, this is not a guy that has my best interest in mind. And so I think there's always this hesitation with him snapping up companies and even his business sense and where he's at with the metaverse and a bunch of other stuff. Like, I just think there's a lot of problematic sides to Zuckerberg and Facebook that as an ecosystem, like, I kind of would be okay if Facebook went away personally. Like I don't think it's going to, but personally it's like, I'm happy to leverage it for our business, but as a tool for the health of generations and mental state with Instagram and a bunch of other stuff that's happening, it's like, I don't know, outside of keeping in touch with my friends and family, which I have group message threads and stuff for the people that super matter to me, I have a hard time legitimizing like Facebook survival.
If I weren't a digital marketer, I wouldn't have social media at all.
Right.
I'll tell you that. I don't think it's conducive for mental health and all that, but I think as a business owner to not leverage it is foolish.
Yes, 100%. Right? That's why we need to learn that stuff. Like, that's why you jumping on Threads is important, because this is our job. Like, if Threads does pop off and we need to be able to advertise and we find that this is the best place for organic reach, that's always what we're chasing with any marketing material, any like medium that pops up, right? Whether it's TikTok, or even Hulu advertising, right? Like, there's a bunch of stuff that we're like, we need to learn because our clients want to get in front of the right audience. And if we find out that their audience is in Threads, we need to learn how to leverage that, and we need to be proficient in these areas. So jumping into new channels, even whether they boom or they bust, like, that's part of our job. And I love that you're hopping into it.
Well, yeah, my biggest regret was not leveraging Clubhouse better. I really regret that. I watched dudes literally blow all their audiences up on all their platforms just because Clubhouse was hot.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I had done that. So I'm not going to waste this opportunity with Threads. But yeah, I don't have rose-colored glasses, but I also, you know, I've also literally squandered opportunities like this before. So I'm not gonna do that with us. But so yeah, if you haven't messed with Threads yet, I would jump in and start familiarizing yourself, start posting content, and you know, start learning platforms, start making it happen.
So, hot take
Okay.
on Twitter and Threads. Let's just say a
Okay.
year down the road.
Okay.
Where do you think they are?
What do you mean?
Like Threads and Twitter. Like, what is the health of each of these social media platforms? Like, how
Oh
much are they used? How, like, I mean, just give me a hot take about that, or just just a normal take. You can give me a lukewarm take. Just
man.
where do you think they're going trajectory wise in the next year?
So that completely depends on if Elon sues and wins, right?
Sure.
Like, because I think that I think he probably has a case. You know, I I rarely see Elon that I've noticed like flop in court scenarios. Like I feel like his legal team is super good,
Yeah.
but I think that if he's kind of like threatening to sue and feels like Elon is or that Zuckerberg is, he said he's cheating, right?
Right.
I think that he might have a pretty decent claim to it. So like the whole thing might get completely shut down anyways, but it's just so difficult to tell, man.
Is that your take?
I think
You think they're going to get shut down and lose in court?
I think that I'm just not a lawyer. I don't know if that's, if we're just talking platform to platform, let's say the platforms stay. I think that I think that I think Threads is going to take it. I really do.
You think Threads is going to take it?
I think Threads is going to take it.
You think Threads is going to beat Twitter? Elon's investment's going to tank. 44 billion is currently sitting at $15 billion valuation right now.
I think people will stay on Twitter or Meta for their political views is my prediction. And I think that Elon has the most to lose from that.
Yeah. And again, we don't get political on here at all. But if you're looking for a representative difference between the two approaches, like literally one of the first posts that was made on Threads was Ellen DeGeneres hopping into Threads and saying, like, welcome to gay Twitter. So like, I feel like there's a clear grouping of people and ideologies that are like finding homes, which is a echo chamber that's happening. So if you want my hot take on what's happening, I think that if I'm going to put a little stipulation here. If Elon can actually step away and let his new CEO drive the ship, I think that Twitter will more than recoup its value with the stuff that they're doing in terms of podcasting and creator sharing, actual like advertising dollars, getting advertisers to come back to Twitter. I think that's all super necessary for the health of this platform. And I think the less incendiary that he can be, like it would be the best thing for Twitter if he walked away for a year and focused on other projects and let the CEO do her thing and tweeted from time to time. I think he's still the spokesperson right now of Twitter, and I think that's all that does is like undermine the new CEO at almost every single step of the way, because she's never going to be able to drive the ship if he's the one that's constantly piping up, because it just kind of makes it feel like a puppet CEO and not someone with real power that's affecting change.
See, I'm gonna disagree with that a bit. I think
for
that, well, so when Jack Dorsey brought in his new CEO in Twitter, like I don't think people really knew who that guy was, like they knew who Jack Dorsey was, because Jack Dorsey had this like pretty large personal brand. He was like Zuckerberg's original competitor, right? So I don't know. I think even if Elon steps away for a year, his entire thing thrives on controversy and all the big stuff he's doing in the news. If he doesn't have that, like, I don't know what he's got. Like, I don't know. I think that if he's doing controversial stuff with SpaceX or Tesla, or if he's like doing, if he's manipulating markets with like Bitcoin or like cryptocurrency, I think that's still going to reflect massively on people's perception of Twitter, because everyone knows he owns it. Like I don't know if like this new CEO is going to be able to have the personal brand, or if that's going to even carry over to even make that much of a dent. Just for what I saw when Dorsey passed Twitter over.
Yeah. I think the new CEO was brought in 100% to pull advertisers back. Like
Right.
she was meant to counterbalance Elon for
Right.
advertisers. But I think that if Elon remains as big of a disruptive player inside of the space, where he's releasing policies, retracting policies, changing policies, creating weird user experiences, like if he's in the middle of it, from an advertiser perspective, I'm looking at that going like, oh, the CEO just said something inflammatory. Like the Elon Musk just said something. This is his platform. And so I think that if he was taking more of a focus on launching all these really great features that he's wanting to do
Right.
to like compete with Spotify and compete with YouTube and compete with these other things, if he's just building trust with people by just launching crazy good features and his mouth is shut, I think that it grows. I think that what people want inside of a Twitter right now is really great features and stability. I think those are the two
Right.
things that they want. And I think that Elon is such a disruptive and innovative personality that he steps in it as many times as he succeeds. And like, it's always public because it's always Elon, right? So
Right.
I think that that's more what I'm saying, is that for the health of Twitter, I think they're in a season right now where it just, if the user base just experienced stability for just a little bit and just great features being launched, I think that it would grow in value. And I think that advertisers would feel like, oh, this is a safe place for me to put my business. And that like Elon Musk isn't running around with a branded flamethrower, just accidentally setting stuff on fire every once in a while. So,
Yeah. I just don't think he can help himself though.
right. I'm just saying what would be best, not what Elon will do, because I think those are two separate things. Believe me, I think that Tesla stockholders wish that he wouldn't, hop on Joe Rogan and
Smoke weed.
smoke weed, right? Like I think there's just moments where he's just going to be Elon and he's not going to apologize for it.
Right.
And to be honest, I think that's why he has such a strong following of people who enjoy a personality that's just going to be themselves, and they're going to own it when they fail. But yeah, dude, I think that the battle between Musk and Zuckerberg is on, and I think that it'll be really interesting to see what happens with Threads. I think that Threads will be nice, and I think that it'll have a nice little following. I think that Facebook is still trending downward in terms of gaining new people. I think Facebook and Instagram are just aging up. I think that there's a clear jump and divide between younger demographics hopping on board with it, and I think it'll be a platform that ages up with generations. If you want my hot take, I think Facebook's already called mom book by Gen Z and below, and I think that that's going to just remain that way. I think we're going to be 30 years down the road and seeing retirement homes where people are still connecting with each other on Facebook and sharing their retirement home day thing, because that's just the ecosystem that they're used to. And I think that like radio or like TV, this is just another platform where it will age up with the people that became users of it and adopters of it. And I think that newer and newer stuff will appeal to younger and younger audiences, and Facebook and Threads isn't going to fix that problem. Threads is not going to pull Gen Z or Gen Alpha into it. So I think it's just another feature set for an already aging group, and it doesn't solve Facebook's inherent problem, which is my perspective. They don't have a happy meal. They don't have a play place. They don't have an ability to pull kids in. And I would hate it if they did. From a business perspective, they need to fix this problem. I know that they're sweating about it. But from an actual moral perspective, I would hate if Facebook was more appealing to kids than they already are causing damage. So,
but I don't think Twitter has a massive Gen Z population necessarily. Yeah.
No, I mean, I would need to go look at actual demographics, but I don't think it is Gen Z.
They probably have the same problem. Like neither, I don't think either of them they're old platforms. So like they're fighting for market share of the same audience, and everything's divided by, which horse you want to back. Like there's so many Twitter users that have been looking for like liberation from from Elon Musk, right? So Zuckerberg is definitely giving it to them in droves. So
yeah, I think full video platforms like TikTok or Twitch or even Kick, the new streaming competitor and stuff, I think that's where you're going to find Gen Z and below hanging out. So
for sure, man. Well, good deal. Well, if you enjoyed this episode of Disruption and Kindness, we would love it if you'd share it with a friend. And please jump onto our social media and ask us any question you want. We're always looking for great topics and great things to chat about. It's always good talking to you, Caleb, and we will talk to you guys next week. Always.